Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hello there guys, this is Monksy and this is my first commentary in quite a while. It's mainly because we've been on the grind for Gfinity. I've got a few gameplays I want to record, a nice little clutch that we got in the payback tournament games, and yeah, we're going to try and be recording as many, particularly from Gfinity, maybe get a few clips from that. And we're also trying to, still get our montage in the go. We've been saving a few clips here or there. But mainly been focusing entirely on practicing for Gfinity, and this is basically going to be my predictions video. Now, I'm going to first of all talk about how the groups I feel are going to break down. Starting with the Alpha group, it's Complexity, Optic Gaming, Ozone, Prophecy, and Unite EU. Now, going into this, I think Complexity are clear favourites. I think they're going to storm the group 4-0. I think the maps they're going to drop are probably going to be the S&Ds against Optic or Prof, and potentially like a CTF here or there against Optic, because I think they're particularly strong at that. But I don't think any European teams are going to pose any sort of threat in terms of hardpoint, and maybe even the CTFs, to be honest, because they just look so strong in terms of teamwork, in terms of hype, in terms of like confidence of their play, and I think they're on another level at this point in time to maybe all the European teams out there. And then going into the second place, I think it'll be Optic Gaming. Fan favourites. I think they're gonna. I think they get the Prophecy Optic game is going to be insanely close. Prophecy did beat them in some scrims at the Red Bull House, but I mean that counts for nothing. The intensity and kind of the LAN environment isn't there, the pressure isn't there. But I still think Optic will take that maybe in a 3-1, a 3-2. Prophecy will probably take one of the S&Ds and one of the hard points, I think. And then I'm gonna go. And then I think. Oh, sorry. And then I think Unite. Sorry, you're gonna take either both or one of the hard points against that Optic as well. The Unite are really strong at hard point coming into this event. So I'm going to call the group to be Complexity first, Optic second, Prophecy third, Unite fourth, Ozone Giants fifth. I think the Unite Prophecy game is a decisive game between third or fourth, mainly because I called Prophecy to win it because they just kind of have this way of when they play against teams that are similar or kind of like, I don't know, underdogs against them, they always seem to close out the series a lot more comfortably than when they're the underdogs and they need to make a point and when they're losing. I think there's always like two sides to a team, like the team when they're winning and the team when they're losing. And I think when Prophecy are winning, they're like, one of the most dominant teams in Europe. But then going into the Bravo group, I think we have AAA, Curse EU, Team Envious, US, TCM, and Team Impact. Now, I'm going to call Impact to absolutely storm our group, to be honest. I think they're going to drop S&Ds. I think particularly against Envy, US, and Curse EU. I think coming into the group, actually, we've probably got three of the best S&D teams on the game. Curse EU, they kind of play, they play it a bit differently. They play quite defensively in S&D. I think if they sort their kind of, like I got rigidness of their S&D, I think that they really are one of the best S&D teams because they've got a lot of composure, a lot of intelligence in their team. But I think that's all going to come down to how they play on the day, and obviously Call of Duty's a on the day game. Anyway, so Impact to storm it. I think they're going to drop maps against Envy on S&D and CTF because Envy's CTF is like unparalleled, to be honest, with like Rambo running flags and JCap and Proofy are probably the best two slayers on the game. Now, I don't mean to call anyone out here, which is probably going to sound like I am, but from what I've seen of Stainville, the guy really isn't living up to the hype of his teammates. I can't really explain. I've seen him online. I know he's hindered online, and I saw him at Anaheim as well, and he just didn't kind of have that feel of a player that was on the same like level at Page at this point in time. If you watch JCap, Proofy, even like Rambo might not be the best in terms of shot, in terms of reactions or whatever, but he's still always like managing to pull it off, and he's never significantly behind. But if I was to try and draw a parallel, like it's kind of like the APM of StarCraft. Like if you kind of watch the way the other three play, they're always like thinking, always moving, always like twitching, always like kind of reacting to stuff. But I kind of don't see that with Stainville. And I think that could potentially be a big factor as to this event, as to whether they do incredibly well. I think it's all down to Stainville. And they could easily walk the event, but at the same time, they could easily come out as like the fourth American team. They could even lose to a European team if they're not, playing on their day. I think Impact to win it. Envy to come second. Close series to Us or Curse EU. I think one of us could potentially go to a fifth map, or maybe even take one of the series. I don't know, but I think it'll be TCM and Curse in the third or fourth respectively, and then AAA coming in the last place. I mean, I'm not slating AAA. I think they're a good team. I just think having seen them at Reflex, they rely a lot on individual plays. I think they could take maybe a CTF. I think they're good at CTF because it doesn't require that much in terms of teamwork. It's more about individual plays. Obviously, it does require a big element of teamwork, but if it's a map like Slums or Standoff, I mean, you can kind of play those maps with very little teamwork, very little comms, as long as you're getting the choke points and making kills and making plays ultimately. I think they've got some good playmakers like Ataga, Prodigy, Broken, in particular, are the best two players to watch out for in that team. But yeah, I think they could cause an upset, particularly against Izor Curse EU. I think our group's probably the hardest in terms of European teams because I mean everyone's kind of considered Ozo not a free win so to speak, but I don't think they're quite on the same level as the other 6 European teams, and certainly not the other 4 NA teams. Having seen them at the individuals at COD Champs, at Reflex 8, at DreamHack Valencia, they're just kind of not on the same individual level as a lot of the other teams going, but they could easily prove me wrong. I hope they do. Anyway, so Impact to come first, Envy second, and then Izzo Curse. I'll just say to put as a worst case scenario, Curse come third and has come out fourth. Now what that'd mean is Complexity would play the 4th team in the opposite group, which would hypothetically be us. Optic would play Curse EU. Impact would play Unite, and Prophecy would play Envious. Now I'm gonna call that Impact. I think Impact are gonna beat whoever they play, either Unite or Prophecy, pretty comfortably, and Complexity are gonna beat whoever they play. Obviously that might be us. Obviously everyone's going to be fighting to try and get that 3rd place because that's the most important thing to do, is come out of the group 3rd to play the weaker of the American teams. I think we could beat I think we could potentially call it S&D games against Complexity, but I think their respawn's just so good at the minute. And then I think Prophecy could potentially cause a massive upset against Envious. I think that's a real game, if they end up playing, or Unite. I think those two are interchangeable. So Prof Unite versus Envious, one of those two. I think Envious aren't looking strong, particularly in the hardpoint game mode. They're just not as dominant as they were around COD Champs time. They were certainly the 2nd best team in the world at that point in time. And they just kind of, I don't know, they kind of fell off. They lost their intensity. They let teams catch up, and it's hard to get back into the swing of Call of Duty, particularly your awareness and getting your head in the game. Because once you take a big break, you kind of lose track of all the key elements of how to play. I've done it myself. I took a 6-month break last year, and when I came back, I have to admit I was one of the rustiest players in the community. But it takes a long time to kind of get back into the general gist of how to play. So yeah, I think Col and Impact will win respectively. Optic will beat Optic versus Curse or us. I think that'd be a massive game. I think either of us could take that. I mean, Optic are looking good at LAN. But I think a big thing is if you're winning against Optic, I think you can take it. I don't think they're when they were down against Impact, they just weren't in it. They lost their intensity, they lost their hype. And then I think if you win the first map, that could settle the series because they're good at S&D, they're good at CTF, but so are Us and Curse. I'd go as far as saying that Us and Curse EU are probably our strongest game modes at S&D and CTF from having that experience on Mod 3, on Black Ops 1, where we only played those game modes. And I'd say our best game mode is S&D, so I think we could take that, and looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to playing one of the American teams if we do get out of the group. I think so are everyone else. I don't expect to place in the money this event. Realistically, I think the American team should place top 4. But yeah, I think that would be a close game. Maybe Optic to edge it for experience. I think Prophecy or Unite could be Envious. But yeah, going into that, then it'll be Complexity against the winner of Envy or Prof. I think Complexity will take that. And then I think it'll be Impact versus the winner of Optic against Izor Kursu. And I think Impact will take that once again. Impact just seem to beat Optic on every occasion. So yeah, I think it'll be an Impact Complexity final with potentially Optic or Izor Kursu, and then Prophecy or Envious coming third or fourth. I'd love European teams to come top four. I just think at the minute, Col and Impact still way ahead of us. I mean, Epsilon did catch them off guard, but at the same time, Epsilon are probably the best hardpoint team in Europe. They put a lot of time in, a lot of time in, which no European teams done for Gfinity. We had restrictions for education and stuff, and that's a big reason why we didn't go to MLG. I think Prophecy, maybe you could argue they put time in for MLG and they should be allowed, they should be able to do that kind of damage like Epsilon. But I mean, when they went to MLG, they just didn't play as well as they could. Um, but yeah, I think it's gonna be down to the day, to be honest, and it's all down to hype. I think as soon as a team starts beating themselves up, that's when you know you've lost. I mean, the big difference that I saw at MLG was like Cole were out like off their heads. That's not like a pun. I mean, they literally were just like jumping up and down every single like map, every kill they got. Clayster was a guy that like I don't know, like he'd won the lottery. Um, yeah. So I think Complexity will win the event. Impact come second, and then kind of jungle of teams that can come third or fourth. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy my predictions for Gfinity, give us a comment below. Post what you think is going to happen in the comments. I'm really kind of interested to see what people think will happen against the NAEU matchups in particular, whether any EU team will actually beat anyone in any maps. But yeah, please feel free to put your comments below, and thanks for watching.